All right, so anytime I'm traveling, I like to find the local distillery because there's pretty much always some local distillery, especially if you're on an island, because why not make it yourself instead of having to ship everything in? So here on Bonaire, the local distillery is Kadushi, which means the sound of cars passing by. No, actually, Kadushi is this cactus, which is native and very prolific here on the island. And so a number of years ago, these guys started up a distillery, the Cadushy Distillery, primarily, well, when they started, to make a liqueur out of the cactus. So they basically break segments of it off. You skin off the spine, skin off the outer skin. There's an inner skin, which apparently doesn't have enough alcohol to turn into spirits. So they use other materials to get the sugar for the alcohol, but the flavoring is Kadushi cactus. They said that there's not enough sugar to make 80 proof, but there is enough sugar to make, or there is enough for 80, but there's not enough for 95, which does not make sense. You said there wasn't enough sugar in the cactus to distill.
No, not for the pure alcohol, but we can make the vodka with it. Because the vodka only has 40%, but to make the 95, we need more sugar.
That's not how that works. Anyway, let's go ahead and try some.
So basically it's real easy once you know it. And this is how we started in 2009 with the Kadushi of Bonaire.
Enjoy. Thank you.
And after that period, we looked at different traditions of the other Dutch Caribbean islands to base a liqueur on. Now, most of them we already had. So we do for the Aruba, the kukui, and that's with local cherry called chimaruku and roasted agave leaves.
It smells very cherry-like.
Now, of course, for Bonaire, the cactus and lime. For Curaçao, it's calabash and soursop.
Is it good?
Stacia is guava and dried hibiscus flower.
So?
It's the most natural flavored one.
And the ceiba, which we're going to try next, is different spices. It's cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, star anise and mace. The last one is the Orange of Orange, and we make this one for the Dutch Kingdom. The Dutch Kingdom is House of Orange. Queen Maxima is from Argentina. National drink over there is yerba mate, that's a tea. And we combine those two into the Orange of Orange.
And orange for the Dutch. I love it. Very good.
So this is the liqueur line, or the island line. But we also got spirit line. And first off, one of the biggest spirits of the island was Captain Don. He was one of the founders of the dive industry. And he was always drinking whiskey when he was alive. So of course our whiskey is named after Captain Don. The whiskey itself is a mild whiskey, a smooth whiskey, but smoky whiskey. Because we put some Cuban tobacco leaves inside the barrel. Then cactus vodka, the first and only in the world. Where it normally is from a grain or a potato, we make it from the cactus. Kawamati is the gateway to the spirit world, so that's why our tequila is named after Kawamati. And the tequila itself is from Bonaire agave together with aloe, so it's good for your skin. Salud means your health, and that's why our 13 different botanical gin is named Salud. And one of the botanicals is cactus, and then 12 more. At the end, the rum rincon, our spice rum. One of the spices is a wild basil, it's called yerba de ole. And at the bar we also have a rum that's twice as old as this one.
It does smell smoky. Wow. It has a very smoky taste to it. Like right up front. And it's more of an ashy smoke than the peat bog sort of smoke you get from Isla. It kind of overwhelms most of the other flavors of the whiskey. That's really interesting and neat. Did not come here expecting to find a whiskey on Bonaire, but I like that. All right, this is their rum rincon, spiced rum. Generally, I'm not a huge fan of spice rum. Like, I can just add some spices or some spice liqueur to rum if I want it.
Premium rum. We also have a white stock, which is double the age in the smaller version.
That's way too
That's
sweet.
6 years.
That's like rum liqueur. All right, and last up, they have a tequila because they have agave native here on Bonaire. So, technically speaking, I don't think they can legally call it tequila, which they do because it's not made in the right states of Mexico, and it's not blue agave. This would actually be a mezcal, but
That's a head on a beer.
that's a little rough. All right, final thoughts. This is the winner from Kadushi. It's not a fantastic whiskey, but it is a unique and interesting whiskey.
I think I like the red one.
If they took something like this and aged it like
The Aruba.
5 years,
Cherry.
8 years maybe, I think they'd end up with a nicer, better product. And then throw some of that tobacco leaf in, and it's an interesting thing. So, by the way, Captain Don was the guy who basically founded the scuba scene, the scuba industry on Bonaire. He's the one who basically mapped and named all of the dozens of shore diving scuba sites here on the island. So, and apparently he was a alcoholic probably, so they named the whiskey after him.
1.5 liters.
So we're gonna take a bottle of this home because this is cheap. Okay, so as we were walking out, one of the sales reps for the distillery walked by and happened to recognize me. And so we started chatting, and I told him I thought their 3-year whiskey could be something really special if they aged it a bit longer, 6 or 7 or 8 years. And he goes, well, we do have the limited edition that we aged for 6 years. Did they not show you that? We have a couple new people working at the bar today. So we went back in, and now I'm coming out with a bottle of the 6-year as well. It's interesting in that the 6-year whiskey is a much more matured whiskey. It tastes better as a whiskey, but the smoke flavor to it from those tobacco leaves is much more subdued. So I think the 6-year is undoubtedly the better one to drink straight, but I think the smoky young one could make some really interesting cocktails. In that way, it's kind of like tequila. If you're going to drink it straight, you're better off going with something like a reposado or an añejo that's got some age and some barrel character to it. But for a good tequila flavor in a cocktail, you're better off with a very young one. Well, I think this young smoked whiskey will be really interesting in some cocktails. So, I'm getting another bottle, and then we'll go back to diving.
Would you like to introduce yourself to Ian's fans?
I'm Richard. I'm a long fan of Ian for many years now. I work at the Cadushy Distillery in Bonaire.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for
Likewise.
selling him more whiskey.
My pleasure.
I didn't really want to say this in front of them in the distillery, but frankly, their explanation of how they're making stuff is a little... it's very light on technical details. And if I'm going to be honest, all of their liqueurs taste to me like vaguely different types of cough syrup. Not a big fan. The spiced rum, to me, is way too sweet, and don't like it either. The whiskey really came as a total surprise to me. I did not expect. I figured I'd try it, especially after they mentioned the tobacco leaf infusion. By the way, if you are at home and thinking about doing your own whiskey infusion, be very careful infusing tobacco into whiskey because the nicotine will infuse very well into alcohol, and it is poisonous. Like, it's not that difficult to infuse a dangerous level of nicotine into spirits. So if you're going to do that, read into it before you just start whipping up cigar flavored Manhattans. Anyway, the site's not that exciting. The tour is almost non-existent. The description is not very good. But that whiskey was really a very happy surprise to me. So there you go. That is the one distillery on the island of Bonaire. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it.